If you like the way you look that much, oh baby, you should go and love yourself. Hey guys, it's Dave Tran here and welcome to another Guitar Zero to Hero tutorial. In today's lesson I'll be showing you how to play Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. Now Ed Sheeran co-wrote this song and everything he touches turns to gold basically. I'm going to be running through two different versions of this song for you. Now the first version is just going to be very chord based and it's going to be probably more for beginners and those who just want to be playing and singing along to the song. And the second version will be exactly how I'm assuming Ed Sheeran plays it in the recording, and it's going to utilize a bit more finger picking, a little more for intermediate players, but beginners should be able to pick it up as well. Alright, so for the first version all we need is guitar in standard tuning and a capo on 4th fret. The first version will be utilizing 6 chord shapes, and those chord shapes are C major, G/B, so that is just a G without the top bass note, A minor, D minor, F, and G. I'm going to break this song up into 3 different sections. We're going to have a verse, we're going to have a pre-chorus, and then we're going to have a chorus. And they're all pretty straightforward, have their own separate structure, and have their own sort of strumming pattern. Starting with the verse, we have 2 lines of chords. We have C, G/B, A minor for the first line. So for the second line, we have D minor, C, and then G/B. This song is being composed in a very stripped back manner. It doesn't have any drums, and as such, the guitar is written to carry that percussive element in the way of a slap or a mute. Now these slaps/mutes, whatever you want to call them, are going to generally be played on the 2nd and 4th beat throughout the entire song, I would say. And this is applicable to the first version I'm showing you and the second version I'm showing you. Now for the first version, to make that percussive noise, it's basically a down strum. However, the palm's going to be muting all the strings quite heavily. Not lightly, but quite heavily, like in the middle here. And when you come down, it should sound just muted, like a snare. It also helps to let go of any notes that you're holding down with your fretting hand. The strumming pattern for this verse is going to be a down, up, slap 3 times, and then a single slap by itself. When I say slap, it's the same thing as a mute, basically. So in context with the chords, it should sound something like this. Down, up, slap, down, up, slap, down, up, slap, slap, down, up, slap, down, up, slap, down, up, slap, slap. I'll repeat that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, slap, down, up, slap, down, up, slap, slap, down, up, slap, down, up, slap, down, up, slap, slap. And that's it for the verse. Now we go to the pre-chorus, which has 3 lines of chords to learn. For the first line, we have A minor, F, and C, and that's repeated twice. The second line is exactly the same, but it has an additional chord, the G at the end. So A minor, F, C, and G. And finally, the last line is A minor, F, and then G. Now the strumming pattern for this pre-chorus is going to be an extension basically of what we learnt in the verse. So that down, up, slap that we learnt in the verse is going to be extended. And verbally it should sound like a down, up, slap, down, slap. And in succession it'll sound like down, up, slap, down, slap, down, up, slap, down, slap, down, up, slap, down, slap. Now for that first line, you're going to be changing the chord at that second downstroke. So going from the A minor, you go to the F on that second downstroke. And when it goes to the C, that just stays onto that chord for a whole strumming pattern. So the first line should sound something like this. Down, up, slap, down, slap, down, up, slap, down, slap. And one more time. Down, up, slap, down, slap, down, up, slap, down, slap. And if I were to be counting this in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the chord change is actually on the end beat after the 2, the upbeat, if you will. So if I was count along, it would be like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Notice how the 2 and the 4 are where the slaps always go. Now that strumming pattern that we just learned is applicable to that second line of chords as well. Now the only difference is there's an extra chord thrown in, and where that change is from the C to the G is again on that second down strum of that strumming pattern that we learnt. So if I was to play it slowly, it will sound like something like this. Down, up, slap, down, slap, down, up, slap, down, slap. Now that's the second line. Notice again, when I start the strumming pattern again on the C to G, so down, up, slap, down, that second down strum is where that chord changes. And one more time. Down, up, slap, down, slap, down, up, slap, down, slap. And lastly, for this third line of chords, the A to F is exactly the same as we've played previously. The only difference is the G, which is just all downstrokes as a build up to the chorus, and that is strummed 5 times. So playing that third line will sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, slap, down, slap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we get to the chorus, which is fairly simple, and it's just a matter of timing. The strumming pattern is very simple. It's just all downstrokes and slaps / mutes. In terms of the chords, we have 2 lines that we need to learn. They are C, G, A minor, F for the first line. And then for the second line, we have C, G, C. Now the first and third chords for both lines are always played on the 1 beat. The second and fourth chords for both lines are always played on the end beat after the 3. So if I was to count along using a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, first and third chord on the 1 beat, second and fourth chords in each of these lines is on the end beat after the 3. This will make more sense when I play it and count along. Also note that the slap / mute always has to be on the second and fourth beat. So we need to throw them in between the chords that we're strumming down as well. This will all make more sense when I play it and count along. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... That's everything you need to know for version 1 of playing this song. Now I'm just going to be playing the verse, pre-chorus and chorus all in a row. so you have some context. I'll also count along using a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to help you with the timing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and Alright, now we get to the second variation of this song, which is how it is played on the recording and the more difficult version. Now you'll need to take the capo off the guitar, and so you'll just have standard tuning with no capo. You won't need a pick for this. This will be finger picked. So to start the verse riff, we have a hammer-on that goes from the 7th fret to the 9th fret on the B string. Now what a hammer-on is where you play the first note just once, you pluck it once, and then with your fretting hand, you use a hammering action to get that next note. So I'm only plucking it once on the first note, but the fretting hand hammers on so you can hear that audible second note on the 9th fret. Now that is played in conjunction with the top open E string, so you don't have to fret anything there, and you play them at the same time together. So using your middle finger to pluck the high B string and using your thumb to hit the low E, like that, all in one go. So hammer. Yep. Similar to the first variation of this song, there's going to be a slap on the 2nd and 4th beats throughout. And to do that with no pick, basically what all you're doing is just dropping your hand onto the strings for that percussive feel. Right? So after we've played that first hammer-on note, just before we go into the slap, you're going to pluck that high B string again. And it's almost like a passing note. It's played just before you do the slap. So together it'll sound something like this. So it's a passing note. So you pluck that high beat and slap straight away. And together it's like that. Now if you don't want to play that hammer-on and make it a bit more simple, you can simply just hit that 9th fret on the B string with your ring finger and do everything exactly the same except no hammer-on. Just hit the 9 together with the open E. And you can do it that way if you prefer. So that's the first chord in that riff bit. And if we break it up into chunks between those slaps, it's going to be a lot easier to remember. So that's your first chunk, for example. So the hammer-on, the passing note pluck, and slap. Now the second chunk, as I call it, will be with your index finger on the 6th fret and your ring finger on the 7th fret. So basically from the 9 you've just slid down 2 frets. Now the plucking principle and the slap are all the same. So you're going to hit the bass note and that high note at the same time for the first pluck. And then before you go into the slap, you're going to have a passing note, which is the high string, high note on the B string. So, and slap down. So all together, that second chunk will be both strings together, the high string by itself, and then the slap. And one more time. Alright, and now the third chunk that we're going to learn is that exact same position, just move everything 2 frets down. The plucking and the passing note and the slap will be exactly the same as well. Alright, so both together, the high one by itself and then slap. Alright, so let's play those 3 chunks all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and now there is no real 4th chunk. All there is just a pause and then one more slap on the 4 beat. So all together again. So let's call that the first phrase with those 4 chunks that we've just learnt. Now the second phrase is very similar in ways of picking and timing. There's just different positions. So the first chunk for the second phrase is going to be up at the 9th fret and the 10th fret. So you can just take that same position that you had previously in that first phrase and slide it all the way up to 9 and 10. And the picking is exactly the same. Both bass note and high note together, high note by itself, and come down for a slap. Right? And the second chunk is gonna be down at 7th fret. So you slide your fingers down, 7th fret, and the ring finger will be on 9th fret. Now this is the only different one shape to all the other ones. All the other ones didn't have a fret in between them, but this chunk does. So be wary of that. 7th fret for the bass note. Now that's on the A string, mind you, not on the top string. And then the B note is on 7. And the picking is exactly the same. So bass and high note together, high note, slap down. And now the third chunk for the second phrase is going to be at 6 and 7. So just slide that down. Same picking. And then the 4th chunk of that is nothing. Basically, it's just a pause and a slap as we had in that first phrase. So altogether, the second phrase with the 4 chunks is going to be alright. And altogether, playing the first and second phrase, which constitutes the verse, it should sound something like this. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now I'm going to play the first and second phrase all together as the full verse riff, repeat it twice, and have a zoom up of my picking hand just so you can see what I'm doing with that. Okay, it should sound something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now for the pre-chorus and chorus, it's made up of 4 chords essentially, and 3 of those chords are going to be power chords. So if you don't know how to play a power chord, you should refer to my video that I released a couple of weeks back on how to play power chords. But basically what you need to know how to play is the open E major chord, so that's quite an easy one. A C sharp minor power chord, so that's just a power chord with the root note on C sharp, which is the 4th fret on the 5th string. A B power chord, which is just the same shape again on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. And finally an A power chord, which is basically just an A minor chord just chopped, so it just has the 3 top bass notes. Now in this instance, when you're playing that A power chord, what you should do is finger it with your ring finger on the 4th string and your pinky on the 3rd string of the 2nd fret. Now that's going to just make sure that your transitions between that power chord, the B power chord, and the C sharp power chord are going to be very easy. You're not going to have to change your fingers around too much. Alright, so starting with the pre-chorus, the first chord is going to be the C sharp power chord. And now we're going to be plucking this with the thumb on the 5th string, the index finger on the 4th string, and the middle finger on the 3rd string. Now I know this contradicts things I've said earlier, where you should try to keep these 3 fingers on the higher strings and designate them only to those strings. However, there are exceptions to the rule, and in this case you can use your index on the higher bass note here on the 4th string and your middle finger on the 3rd string. So you can pluck all of them together at the same time, like that, for that C sharp power chord. Now that's going to be the first note, right? And similarly to the verse, there are passing notes that we're going to be playing. And the passing note here before we go for the slap is going to be just using our index finger and our middle finger on those strings. So we're going to play them all together first with the bass note, and then the passing note is just them 2 by themselves, and then we slap. So all together, then the high ones, and slap. Alright. And the next chord after that is going to be the A power chord. So we just slide our ring finger down and our pinky finger down all the way to the 2nd fret. And that's where that playing that chord like that comes in handy, because it's easy to transition. Alright, so that chord there is played on the end beat after the 2. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, okay. And after it's played, we don't have anything else until we have another slap on the 4th beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're going to have the same picking pattern for the next section, which is going to be our E major chord, but there is no chord change. So we're going to be plucking the open bass note, or we're going to be plucking the same strings that we did for the other notes. So the 4th string and the 3rd string with the same fingers. So all of them at the same time for the first one. Then we have that passing note again, which is these higher notes just together by themselves, and then a slap. And then after the slap on the upbeat, we're going to hit that chord again until the 4th beat where we slap again. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that gets repeated twice. And after that, we're going to be playing basically the exact same thing, except we're adding one extra chord. So where we ended on the E major, that pluck on the end beat after the 2 is not going to be on the E again. It's now going to be on that B power chord. Okay? And we're going to be plucking the 5th string, 4th string, and 3rd string. So it will sound like this. So all together, we have our first line that we played twice, and then our second line here is going to be exactly the same with an extra chord, that B. Alright, so I'll play them 3 together. So repeat. Now when we get into this last line, it's going to be exactly the same, the first bit anyway. So from the C sharp power chord to the A is going to be exactly the same. The only difference is after that we have a build up, which is just the B power chord strummed 5 times. Now you can strum this in any 2 ways without a pick. You can use the soft bit of your thumb. That's a little harder. I like to use sort of the corner edge of my nail on my index finger and almost use that like a makeshift pick and strum that down 5 times. So altogether the pre-chorus will sound something like this. Now I'm just going to play that pre-chorus with a close-up of my picking hand so you can see what I'm doing. There's nothing really special going on with this fretting hand, it's just the chord shapes that are as shown on the tab, so you don't really need a close-up of that. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 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 And that's it for the pre-chorus. Now the chorus is going to be using those same 4 chords. Now it's going to go from the E major to the B power chord to the C sharp power chord and the A in the first line. And the second line is going to be E chord to the B power chord and back to the E chord. Now in a similar fashion to what we had in the first variation, the first and the third chords are going to be played on the 1 beat. The second and fourth chords are going to be played on the end beat after the 3. Again, we have to fit the slap in the second and fourth beat and everything slots in between that. So our first chord again is the E, our second chord is the B, third chord is the C sharp, fourth chord is the A there, and then for the second line the first is the E again, the second is the B, and then the third is the E back to the E, and then there's no fourth chord there, it's just a slap by itself. So it should sound something like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now I'm going to play this again with a close-up of my picking hand. The picking hand isn't really doing anything special, but it might help you just figure out what's going on with the slaps and the picks in between. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and... So that's it for the second variation. Now I'll just quickly play that verse, pre-chorus and chorus all together, and then I will proceed to sing along so you have the song in context. Again, don't mind my singing, not much of a singer, but it should help out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 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 And 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and the times that you ran my parade, and all the clubs you get in using my name. You think you broke my heart, oh girl, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying, oh my, oh well I ain't. And I didn't want to write a song, cause I didn't want anyone thinking I still get my tone. But you still hit my phone up, and baby I've been moving on, and I think you should be something I don't wanna hold back. Baby, you should know that my mama don't like you and she likes everyone, and I never like to admit that I was wrong. I've been so caught up in my job, didn't see what's going on, and now I know I'm better sleeping on my own. Cause if you like the way you look that much, oh baby, you should go and love yourself. And if you think that I'm still holding on to something, you should go and love yourself. So that's all there is to Love Yourself by Justin Bieber. Now it's a fairly simple song. You just need to break it down and remember to follow those timing rules, which I've demonstrated. The main one being that your slaps have to be always on the second and the fourth beat throughout that whole song. Everything else sort of fits around that. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave your comments below if you have any questions about how to play this song or any clarification, and I'll try my best to answer. Make sure you hit that like button, and if you like what you've seen, make sure you subscribe, and there'll be plenty more videos in the future on how to play a variety of songs. I'll see you next time. Cheers.